The woman in the walk-in oven. I used to work night shifts at a Walmart supercenter just outside Halifax. This was 2024 cold, wet, early spring. You know, the kind of air that makes every fluorescent light feel colder than it should. I was a stalker. Midnight to 8 a.m. The store was dead quiet most nights. Just me, a few other night guys, and the bakery team. We didn't really talk to them much. They came in early, like 3:30 or 4, to prep the dough and fire up the ovens. But there was this girl, Gersamran. 19 maybe? Quiet. Always wore 2 hairnets, never looked tired. I only really noticed her because she always listened to music that wasn't playing. No earbuds. Just this tiny head sway, like she was dancing to something in her own head. Kinda eerie. Kinda impressive. I remember the last night I saw her. She waved at me from behind the bakery glass. Smile, too small to be real. Then disappeared through the swinging doors. I never saw her come out. The weird thing is, the ovens are massive. Not like house ovens. These are walk-ins. Stainless steel doors the size of fridges, sealed like vaults. You could fit 3 people inside, easy. They're supposed to lock from the outside, and they take a key. But that morning, around 5:15, when the early shift started, nobody could find Gersamran. Her phone was in her locker. Her vest was hung neatly on the hook, but she was nowhere. The store manager tried paging her, tried calling, nothing. Then someone checked the bakery. I wasn't there when they opened the oven door, but I saw the look on Marcus's face, the assistant manager. His skin went pale as paper, hands shaking. He didn't speak the rest of the day. Later that week, they closed the bakery for maintenance. We were told it was a malfunction, but those of us on nights, we knew. You could feel it. Something changed. It was a few days later when the oven door opened on its own. No one near it, no motion trigger, just this low hydraulic hiss. And inside, nothing, except a faint handprint on the inside of the door. After they closed the bakery, they chained the double doors shut. Not just locked, chained. Manager claimed it was for repairs, but repairs don't usually involve welding the oven shut. Nobody talked about it. Gersamran's name was never mentioned again. Her locker? Cleaned out the same night. Like she was never there. But we remembered. And so did the store. About a week later, I was doing a solo restock run through Frozen near 3 a.m. I cut through bakery to save time like I always did. Even with the chains on the doors, I swear, I heard music. Soft, old, like a scratched vinyl, a waltz maybe, warped and slow. It was coming from inside the bakery, from behind the chain doors. I stepped closer. The oven light was on. You couldn't see much through the small viewing window, just a warm orange glow flickering inside, like it was already preheating, but nobody had touched it. That night, I checked the camera feeds. I had a friend in security, Rhonda. She owed me a favor. We scrolled back to 2:47 a.m. Footage normal, lights off, no motion. Then, without anyone near it, the oven light turned on. 2 minutes later, the temperature gauge rose. Slowly. Preheat cycle, same as always. Only problem? It wasn't connected to a timer anymore. That function had been shut down after the accident. It shouldn't have worked at all. Rhonda didn't say anything. She just leaned back in her chair and whispered, "You saw that, right?" I nodded. She hovered over the delete button. I stopped her. "Wait. What if it does it again?" She stared at the screen. "Then, we're not looking next time." Later that week, it did it again. Same time. 2:47 a.m. Preheat. Light on. No movement. Except this time, there was something. A shape. Just for a frame. A blurry figure in the corner of the bakery, standing between the racks of cooling trays. Arms at her side. Hairnet on. Head tilted. Watching. When we paused it, the face was smudged. Not motion blur. More like deliberate distortion. Like the camera didn't want to show it. But I swear, the posture, the way the head leaned slightly, it was her. Gersamran. The oven temp rose again, then dropped back to 0 in seconds. The footage froze. Corrupted. The file renamed itself Bakery. Active. 2. 47. 47. That was the last time Rhonda helped me. She got transferred the next day. Voluntarily, supposedly. She didn't even finish her shift. She just left a note on her desk. I heard her breathing through the speakers. I swore I wouldn't go back. After Rhonda left, after the footage glitched out, I told myself to just do my job. Keep my head down, stock shelves, avoid bakery. But curiosity is a disease in a place like this. And silence? Silence is the sound of something waiting. It was a Tuesday night. Slow. Wet outside. Everything felt heavier than usual, like the air had weight. I passed the bakery like I always did. But the chain was gone. I stopped mid-step. It wasn't just gone. The metal links lay neatly coiled on the floor like someone had taken them off slowly, carefully, without haste. The doors were closed, but not latched. Just slightly ajar. The light inside was on again. Soft orange. The same flickering hum the oven always gave off. But the thermostat through the glass was glowing red, meaning active bake cycle. I stepped in. Couldn't help it. It felt like the room wanted me to. The smell hit first. Not burning. Not bread. Something in between. Warm, sweet, metallic. Baking trays were lined up perfectly. Not used, just arranged. And next to the oven, on the metal table, a pair of gloves. Bakery issue. Neatly folded, and a name tag. Gersamran. Still clean, still warm. The oven beeped. End of cycle. The internal fan kicked on, low whirring. I looked through the small window in the oven door. At first, I saw only steam on the glass. Then it cleared, and behind the haze, a face, pressed against the glass from the inside. Eyes closed, skin blistered, mouth open, as if screaming but silently, perfectly still. I fell backward into the rack trays. Everything crashed around me. When I scrambled to the door to get out, it closed, not slammed, just clicked shut, soft, deliberate. The light inside the oven dimmed, and the face was gone. I ran straight to the manager's office. Burst in, white as a ghost. Alan, night manager, barely looked up. I told him everything. He lit a cigarette, even though it was against policy, and said, "You saw her, didn't you? She only shows herself to one person at a time, and now she knows your name." That night, I tried to sleep with all the lights on. Didn't help. At 2:47 a.m. sharp, my oven timer beeped. I hadn't set it. I unplugged the stove the next day. Not the store, one mine. At home. Didn't matter. That night at 2:47 a.m., it still clicked. Still beeped. And the oven light turned on. The power cord was dangling beside it. I checked the breaker. Flipped the switch off. Still glowing. I opened the door slowly. It was warm. Not hot, just baking warm. And on the middle rack, a single glove. Folded. Thin, white, bakery issue. I didn't sleep. Next morning, I threw out the oven entirely. Dragged it down the hall, down the stairs, into the alley dumpster. Slammed the lid shut like I was sealing a coffin. Felt better for about 2 hours, until I walked back into my kitchen, and the oven was there. Same spot. Clean. Plugged in. Still warm. That night, I went back to the store. I don't know why. Maybe to prove it to myself. Maybe to see her again. Or maybe because once the timer starts, you don't get to walk away. The bakery doors were gone. Literally, just drywall where the entrance used to be. Like it had been renovated overnight, but without tools, noise, dust, like it had never been there at all. Alan was in the manager's office. I told him everything. He didn't laugh, didn't blink, just opened a drawer, pulled out a folder. Inside were old employee files. Missing names, terminated no exit interview, dates circled in red. Each one, 2:47 a.m. He handed me a page, a photocopy. Security cam still frame, low res, grayscale. But clear enough, it was me. Standing inside the bakery, face against the oven window, eyes closed, steam clouding the glass. I shook my head. I've never been inside it. Alan lit another cigarette. You think memory matters here? This place doesn't keep people, it keeps moments. And it replays the ones that burn deepest. That night, I found a baking timer in my locker. Brand new, still ticking. The dial locked on. 2:47 E. The Frozen employee who never clocked out. I worked in Frozen at the Walmart off County Line Road. Most people avoided that section. Too cold, too quiet, too easy to get lost between the aisles of ice cream and microwave dinners. But I liked it. It felt like time moved slower there, like the hum of the freezers dulled the rest of the world. Until it didn't. It started with a time card, one that shouldn't have been there. Old, faded, covered in plastic frost, slipped behind the register by the cooler door. Name, Ethan H. Clock-in. December 14th, 2021 10. 0 p.m. clock-out. No exit. No swipe. Just nothing. I asked around. Nobody remembered him, except Marcus, the janitor. Gray beard, always chewing gum, worked there longer than the floor tiles. Ethan, he said, eyes drifting. Yeah, he worked Frozen, one of those quiet types. Didn't talk much, stayed late. And one night, didn't leave. I laughed it off, but Marcus didn't. He just said, "You ever hear someone breathing in there when you're alone? That's Ethan." That night, I stayed a little later than usual, stocking frozen pizzas, listening to the buzz of the coolers, and then I heard it, click, like a door unlocking, but not one near me. Deep, back of the aisle, past the frost line where it gets real cold. Then, a voice, low, dry, like someone whispering through a coat of ice. "You dropped your tag." I turned. Nobody. But the freezer door to the left was fogged, and on the inside, a handprint pressed against the glass, still melting. I asked the night manager, Jenny, if she could pull old camera logs. I told her I thought someone was messing around in Frozen, that I kept hearing noises. That product was being moved when I hadn't touched it. She didn't ask questions, just sighed and said, "You're not the first." She opened up the old footage archive on her dusty monitor. "No motion alerts," she said. But I asked her to scroll back anyway. December 14th, 3:06 a.m. The moment Ethan's card stopped recording, we found it. Grainy, black and white, frozen foods, aisle 17, lights flickering standard. Ethan walks into frame, wearing the old blue vest with the stitched name tag, gloves, clipboard in one hand. Then, he stops, turns toward the deep freezer, opens the door, and steps inside. No hesitation, no pause, just disappears into the cold. The camera keeps rolling. 10 seconds, 20, 30. No one comes back out. Then the footage corrupts, glitches, pixels bleed, screen freezes. Jenny mutters, "That file always breaks there." I ask if he was ever found. She shakes her head. They searched, cameras cut out, freezer was empty. No body, no footprints. He just stayed in. After that, I started seeing things in Frozen, movement in my peripheral vision, shadows behind the frosted doors. A flicker of blue vest turning the corner before vanishing behind the glass. And then the worst part. One night, I came in early to clock in. Scanned my badge. Terminal beeped. Error. Slot already filled. I blinked. Tried again. Same result. I asked Jenny what it meant. She looked up from the register, eyes wide. "System thinks someone already clocked in under your name." She checked the logs. There it was. My name, clock in, 10, 0 p.m. aisle 17, Frozen. "But I just got here," I whispered. She turned the screen toward me. "Then who the hell is in there?" We pulled the live feed. Aisle 17, flickering lights, freezer fog, and someone stocking shelves. Back turned. Same vest, same build. But when they turned around, it was me. Or close enough to fool the camera. Eyes blank, skin pale, like freezer burn in human form. Jenny backed away from the desk. I just stared at the screen, and the figure on the monitor stared back. After the feed, Jenny said nothing. She just walked out of the office, locked the door behind her, and didn't come back. I stood there alone, screen still glowing. And on it, the other me, still working, still scanning barcodes, still moving. Only his movements were off, like someone trying to imitate human motion. Too smooth, too slow, like meat thawing. That night, I didn't go into frozen. I stayed in cleaning. Did the floor buffers, anything to stay away from aisle 17. But every time I passed the end of that aisle, I heard it. The soft clunk of freezer doors, the slow crack of ice shifting, and sometimes breathing. Not close, but deep, damp, like someone struggling to inhale through frostbitten lungs. At home, things got worse. I couldn't get warm. No matter how many layers I put on, no matter how hot the shower, I stayed cold, skin pale, lips bluish, like my body was reacting to something it couldn't name. Like I'd already started freezing from the inside out. I woke one night at 2:58 a.m., drenched in sweat, but freezing. The thermostat read 68. My breath fogged the air, and across the room near the mirror, someone was standing. Same vest, same pants, same posture, facing away. I couldn't move, just watched. Watched him turn. Not a mirror image, a real reflection. Like he had stepped out of the freezer door and into my world. He raised his hand, fingers black with frost, and mouthed something. "You're off shift." Then he was gone. Just gone. But my breath still hung in the air. Back at work, I asked Marcus the janitor if he remembered anything else about Ethan. He didn't look at me when he said, "There's always one. Every few years. Someone cold enough. Quiet enough. They don't take you. You just stop leaving." Later that night, I checked the freezer door. A new name tag was taped beside the handle. Not mine, not Ethan's, but a printed label. Replacement active. Temp 12.4 due 4. Status. Maintaining cycle. My fingers went numb just standing near it, but my name was gone from the schedule. And the person on shift was already inside. I tried to leave. Really leave. Not just clock out, not just walk to the break room and breathe. Leave for good. I packed up my locker. Didn't even say anything to anyone. Just zipped my coat, shoved my ID in my pocket, and headed for the back door near loaded. The kind that leads out to the real world. To pavement. To sky. But when I opened it, there was no lot. No trucks. No wind. Just aisle 17, frozen foods, lit up like a spotlight. Waiting. I turned around. Backtracked toward the front. Main exit doors, motion sensors, glass panels, clear view of the parking lot. But as I stepped toward them, they didn't open. I waved. Stepped closer. Nothing. And then the speakers crackled. Just a single chime. And a voice. My voice. Recorded. "Please remain in your designated zone." I backed away. Ran down seasonal, cut through dry goods, tried the emergency exit. Alarm didn't even sound. It just opened into the walk-in freezer. Again. The inside lit red. Shelves lined. Frost on every surface. My name carved in the ice. Repeated. Over and over. In service. In service. In service. I slammed the door shut. Tried to call out. No sound came. My breath fogged heavy now. White. Thick. Falling like snow from my lips. I looked down. The tips of my fingers, frostbitten. Skin pale blue. Cracking. Like they'd been in the freezer for hours. Like I was thawing out or being frozen anew. I stumbled to the break room. Everything looked the same, but off. Coffee pot brewing nothing. Microwave humming with no timer. Lockers sealed shut with ice, mine included. I grabbed a mirror off the wall. My reflection wasn't breathing. It blinked, but no fog, no movement of chest, no sound. Just a slow twitch at the corner of the mouth. Not a smile. Not yet, but getting there. That night, I found a box sitting in aisle 17. Plain, white, frosted. Inside, a new vest. Still folded, still cold. With a stitched name tag that read, Ethan H2. I don't know how long I've been here now. Feels like days. Weeks, maybe? But the clock in the break room has stopped. Permanently frozen at 2:17 a.m. Right between shifts. Right between someone leaving and someone being replaced. The freezer door doesn't lock anymore. It hums. Like it's alive. Like it's breathing slow and rhythmic. Sometimes I see people through the glass. Stalkers, managers, new hires. They walk past me like I'm part of the aisle. Like I belong here. I watch them from inside. From my shelf. I don't move. Can't. Muscles stiff, lungs shallow, skin paper thin and brittle as old frost. But my eyes, they still follow. One time, a kid from Frozen dropped a box near the door, turned around to pick it up, paused, stared through the glass. At me. Just for a second. And I saw it. Recognition. His face turned pale. He whispered, "Is that?" Then blinked. And the moment passed. He walked away. Didn't mention it to anyone. You never do. The store doesn't say my name anymore, but it remembers it. I know because I found the tag again, pinned to the inside of the freezer wall. Frosted in, stitched fresh. H, cold storage, active. I don't clock out now. Can't. The system lists me as in zone, below threshold, non-mobile. No termination, no time off, just on hold. Permanently. And the worst part? I still feel the shift happening. Like I'm working. Like I'm doing inventory every night. Counting boxes that don't exist. Fixing labels on shelves no one checks. Living a shift that never ends. Sometimes I hear the others. From deeper in the aisle. Soft knocks. Creaking shelves. Ice breaking in patterns. Like bones. Cracking gently in the dark. Ethan's not gone. He's here. Somewhere. Stalking the back wall. Still doing his job. And soon, someone else will drop a name tag. Miss a scan. Stay one shift too long. And the system? It'll assign them a new label. Because freezers don't bury the dead. They preserve them. The manager who watched himself on camera. I've worked night shifts as an assistant manager at Walmart for 9 years. Same store, same stale air. Same lights that flicker but never get replaced. Same cameras in the same blind spots. You stop noticing things after a while. You let the feed play in the background like TV static. Until one night, the feed started showing things before they happened. It was small at first. A soda bottle falling off a shelf in aisle 12. I saw it on camera, rewound to find out who knocked it over. The footage showed it fall alone, no one nearby, so I walked over to check. Bottle still on the shelf, untouched. I stepped back, and right then, it fell. Same angle, same bounce, exactly like the footage. Next night, I saw myself, on camera, walking toward the back office, coffee in hand, phone in pocket. Head slightly tilted, like I always do when tired. Only I hadn't gotten up yet. I was still in the chair, watching. And yet, there I was moving on screen a minute in the future. I checked the timestamp. Live. I ran to the hallway. Empty. Then, exactly 60 seconds later, I walked around the corner. Coffee in hand, phone in pocket, head tilted, just like before. I tried to laugh it off, but when it happens again the next night, and again the night after that, you stop laughing. I called corporate, asked if maybe we had test footage running, or glitch in the delay buffer. The guy on the other end paused too long, then said, "That location's feed isn't monitored centrally. Your cameras don't have pre-buffering." He told me the system isn't supposed to show anything that hasn't happened yet. And if it is, you should stop watching it. But I didn't. Because on the fourth night, the feed showed me going into the break room at 3 a.m., then never coming out. The night after the break room footage, I came in early. Didn't tell anyone, didn't touch the monitors. I just walked the floor like normal, kept moving. Didn't want to see myself walk into a room and not walk back out, but the cameras don't care what you want. At 1 a.m., the monitor in the stockroom turned itself on. No sound, just static then. A familiar hallway. I saw myself, carrying a crate of expired yogurt, which was strange, because I hadn't been in dairy all night. Then, I watched myself stop, look over my shoulder, and whisper something to no one. I ran to that spot. Nothing there. No crate, no voice. I turned around and heard it. A whisper. Not words, just breath. Close enough to feel it behind my ear. I backed away, went to the office, sat down, didn't move. But the feed came back on. Now it showed me in aisle 3, standing perfectly still, staring into a mirror display near cosmetics. I looked dead, eyes unfocused, hands slack, like I wasn't even inside anymore. Then the me on screen snapped his head toward the camera fast, and the feed cut, just static. That night, I unplugged every monitor, but they still came back on. Battery backup, maybe, or maybe not. At 3 a.m. like clockwork, the feed showed the break room again, empty. Then I entered, carrying nothing, no coffee, no clipboard, just me. And this time, the me on screen turned and looked directly at the lens, and said clearly, "Stop resisting." I never went to the break room that night. I sat frozen in the office. But then my phone buzzed. One new voicemail timestamp. 4 a.m. from my number. I pressed play. My voice. I went in anyway. And I'm still here. I couldn't sleep after that voicemail. I kept replaying it. My voice. Slightly different tone. Flat. Resigned. Like someone had already accepted they were stuck. Next night, I broke protocol. Went into the archive room. Corporate keeps surveillance backups for 6 months on local servers before they purge. I logged into the oldest feed available. May 6, 2023. 3 months before I started working here. Pulled footage from 2:0 a.m. to 4:0 a.m. What I saw nearly made me vomit. Aisle 9. Cluttered. Pallets stacked badly. Then a man walks into frame. Blue vest. Clipboard. Same tired walk, same haircut, same slouch. Me. Only younger. Hair shorter. Vest crisp. I scrubbed forward. At 2:47 a.m., the man looks up at the camera, my face, and smiles. Then keeps walking. I checked the employee roster from that month. No record of anyone who looked like me. No one hired. No transferred IDs. No work orders. And yet, there I was. Walking the floor. Like I belonged. I pulled another clip. June 11th. Break room camera. The same man, me, sitting at the table. Writing something in a notebook. Same posture. Same damn pen I always carry. But that notebook? I never owned one. I started checking every month. Always around 3 a.m. Always a brief appearance. Aisles. Back hallways. Storage. Sometimes just standing. Sometimes smiling. Sometimes watching others. And then vanishing into blind spots. No exit. No door opening. Just gone. I looked up old incident reports. Anonymous notes. One caught my eye. Employee believes there's a twin on night shift. Claims they saw themselves twice in the same aisle. Referred to wellness hotline. Dated March 2022. Before I even applied, I checked the footage for that night. At 3 a.m., 2 versions of the same person walk past each other. Neither reacts, both disappear off screen. At some point, you stop asking if it's possible and start asking if it's inevitable. Back in the office, I turned on the main feed. The break room camera blinked. Someone sat at the table. Head down, notebook open, scribbling. I leaned closer. He looked up, smiled. Me. He held up the notebook. Words written in thick marker. "You're just catching up." I stopped watching the cameras for a few days. Turned off the monitors. Cut power to the feeds. Even unplugged the surge protectors behind the main console. Didn't matter. At exactly 3 a.m., the screen turned itself on. Just a black screen. And then words, white on static. "Deviation detected." I turned the monitor back off, but the lights in the break room flickered. The badge scanner at the employee door started beeping. No one was near it. And somewhere, faint through the vents, I swear I heard my own voice say, "Please return to the program." That night, I deliberately did everything out of order. I didn't check the aisles, didn't walk my usual route, didn't refill the register paper or review time cards. I just sat in the janitor's closet, lights off, phone dead, listening, waiting. But when I checked the logs the next day, it said I'd done everything. Correctly, in the right order. With timestamps, even with camera snapshots, each one showing me doing the task I never did. I looked through them, image after image, walking through aisle 3, scanning inventory in aisle 5, talking to a cashier in self-checkout. Only thing is, she wasn't on shift last night. She quit a month ago. I went back to the closet, looked up at the security dome in the ceiling, blinking red. "Live." I waved. And in the monitor room, the screen showed me waving back from the office. 2 places at once. I called corporate again, left a message I knew they wouldn't return. This time I said, "Your system's broken." Or maybe it's not. Maybe I am. At 3 a.m., every monitor came on at once. A dozen versions of me. Different angles, all synchronized. All staring into the lens, then all speaking in unison. "You failed to follow protocol. Replacement authorized." The screens cut to black. Just one word remained. Sensing. I reached for my ID badge. The name had changed. Not the first name. The last. It now read, "Redacted Instance 42. And in that moment, I realized something. I'd never interviewed for this job. Never signed onboarding paperwork. Never even remembered applying. Just woke up one day with a vest and a schedule. And a smile I didn't feel. I tried leaving again. No clock out. No goodbye. Just walked past the registers and pushed on the front doors. They opened. The cold air outside hit my face. For a moment, I thought I did it. Thought maybe it really was just a nightmare. But then, the parking lot lights buzzed and flickered, and I saw the car I always drove. Except it wasn't parked. It was looping, in the same slow, reverse turn. Over and over, like a clip stuck in playback. No driver inside. I turned back toward the store, and in the reflection of the glass, I saw myself, standing behind the customer service counter, smiling. When I re-entered, everything had changed. The aisles were darker, the store music gone, replaced by a faint mechanical hum, like servers breathing. The monitors all turned on. No keyboard, no input, just me. Dozens of me lined up in rows on the screens, some in uniform, some in plain clothes, some frozen mid-motion, each one labeled Instance 1, Instance 27, Instance 35, and mine, Instance 42. Active observed. I stepped into the break room. It was gone. Walls removed. Ceiling torn out. Only a black terminal on a pedestal. Words printed in glowing blue. "You are no longer required." Final footage complete. New instance loading. I touched the screen. It flickered. A video began to play. Me walking the aisles, talking to customers, laughing with coworkers, doing a job I barely remember. The camera zoomed in on my face, and I saw it. The moment I stopped being real, the smile that didn't quite reach my eyes, the scripted blink, the smooth repeating gestures. like an NPC doing its loop. Then the video paused. Overlay text appeared. Error, instance aware. Repair required. Erase and replace. I tried to back away, but my feet didn't move. My legs weren't mine anymore. They were remembering their route. Back to aisle 12. Past the deli. Stop, turn, smile, wait for the next camera to activate. I tried to scream, but all I said was, "Welcome to Walmart. Let me know if you need anything."